Good morning, everybody. It's about 8 o'clock on Tuesday, December 26th. Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope everybody had a good Christmas day and all of the festivities have concluded. For those of you that may still be with family and friends, enjoy it while you can before you have to go back to work. Fortunately, I don't have to go back to work until a week from today, so I've got some time to get here over at the garage and work on Dorothy. Today I'm going to continue to concentrate on the boot floor. Get the holes. I did forget to put the spot weld holes in there, but that's okay. Get the holes, spot weld holes in for attaching the boot floor. Get the boot floor itself cut out here, and take a little bit of this fender out over here so that I can get access, and then see what I'm going to do over here. I think I'm finally going to make this decision, believe it or not, on how I'm going to do this repair to the tail light area, and there we go. So I got a good, should have a solid 6 or 7 hours over here today. So hopefully it'll go all right, and that's the plan ahead. All right, about 9 o'clock. Just wanted to show real quick. I tacked the rear valance, not tacked, but clamped the rear valance in, as I've done several times to try to make sure that things are fitting up properly. Here's that little leftover piece. I got to grind that out, or I'm going to stab myself with it. But that's the inside of the boot floor here on the side, and you can kind of see the gap in there. But when I spring that rear strengthener in, much like I did on the other side, everything comes in flush. So essentially what that tells me is my fit up's going to be just fine. So that the gaps here I'll fill in with you know, adjusting stuff and everything like that. But I just wanted to show the fit up there. Obviously, I still have some overall fitting and everything to do, big gaps down at the bottom here, all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I'm pretty good with where the patch piece is going to fit. So continuing on. All right, it's about 10:45 or so. The length of the repair patch just got too unwieldy, and I was having, because the cuts weren't straight and everything like that, the very long length. With the flexing and all that stuff just became too complicated to try and get it fit, so I decided to cut the repair patch right where the I don't know what you would call this here now, I can't remember, the thing comes down, but whatever. So I got that tacked in, or excuse me, clamped in, and a rough fit, and then put the rear valance back up again, obviously, just to check my fit. And a lot of things coming together here, as with most of this stuff. So you've got the strengthener here, the boot floor proper, and then the rear valance all have to kind of meet in here. And even though you see a gap there, they actually meet pretty well when I kind of squeeze stuff. And I'm good over here pretty much for that meeting in there. So I'm going to go ahead now with that and get this adjusted a little bit more, and then get this guy tacked in. And then I'll worry about putting the rest of the repair patch in here and getting that fit up. But it's a little bit of a pain in the rear with the size of the patch and everything like that. You know, body work's not easy, I guess. So there you go. Continuing on. All right, it's almost noon. I got the final fit on this piece over here. The whole thing is going to come in a little bit as the wing kind of pushes in, but the strengthener, that is, but pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and tack this puppy in, and hopefully I won't regret it. All right, about 12:20 or so, getting ready to tack in the boot floor repair patch, the vertical portion here. So I had to get a little creative because of the downward draw here. Couldn't get a regular clamp in there. I didn't have any real big mouthed vice grips, so I used the C clamp that I used to replace the valve springs. I got that clamped in there. So essentially what I'll do is I'll tack it here where it's marked there, kind of a makeshift spot weld pliers there, and then I will bring up the boot floor to meet the angled portion, because I figure because of this bend, this will be stronger and therefore less chance of being bent, while the boot floor is kind of wavy and everything. So I figure if I bring it up at the corners where it's secure, and in the center wherever it dips, if I bring the boot floor up to meet the angled piece, that would give me a better better strength to the whole thing. The only thing I'm concerned with is you can see this huge gap over here. So I'm kind of hoping that I didn't screw that up too bad and that I'll be able to bring that in, but that could get a little hairy. But we'll see how it goes. All right, about 1:15. The repair patch is tacked in several places. Still some, obviously got to finish the entire bead. I'm going to take care of that. And got the plug welds on the back of that joint there and the inner wheel well. I got some of these plug welds over here to do, even though you can't see that because of the light. Pretty good gap there. Not sure if I'm just going to try to fill that with weld metal or put something in there. Over here though, that's too big. I'm going to have to put a piece of weld or a piece of metal in there and patch it up. And then this little corner here, I knew this was cut short when I took it apart, so I'm going to just try to make some sort of uncomplicated piece there, even though it's a complicated, but I'd have like 3 different angles there. I'm not going to really stress over that too much, but try to fill that gap in, obviously, because that's not going to work. And so yeah, so not too bad. We'll see. The floor leveled up and straightened up. As I had mentioned, I picked the floor up to meet the angled police, and that seemed to have worked. So I'm going to continue on. All right, about 2 o'clock. Not too much more here today, but I did get the patch all welded in, with the exception of this spot over here where the gap is just too big to fill with weld metal. So I'm going to put a little strip of backing metal under that or something. Those 2 holes there for that exhaust bracket. So I'll get that cleaned up and welded in at some point. Probably would help if I remember where I put it. But anyway, got the hole strip here, got this little cheesy hole filled in here. Excuse me, a little cheesy fill in over here. There's some holes in there. I still had some problem with warpage right on the seam. The whole kind of thing picked up, so I'm just going to have to finagle that when I put the rear valance in. As far as under here goes, I got those plug welds in there. Smooth them out real quick, and got those 4 plug welds in there. I still have to bend over the little seam there, but there we go. So not too much longer here. Like I said, got some errands to run, hopefully, if everything is still open, and we'll see how it goes for the rest of the day. All right, it's about 2:30, time for me to go. So the boot floor is in, pretty much all of it, I think. Not real happy with the way the weld came out as far as the metal distortion goes. I don't know what I could have done there. I hammered on it after I welded it, and I also used compressed air to cool it off. So I think it's maybe has to do with the fact that it was a very long piece of metal and it wasn't well supported. So maybe I could have supported it a little bit better. But there's a pretty good crink in it, and I'm gonna have to take care of that to get these weld beads ground down, because you're actually going to see this stuff. But the welding itself, I was happy with. I had some really good shots. I found 3 or 4 light holes. That's about it along that whole entire stream. So I was pretty happy there. Like I had showed you before, I got those plug welds there and the plug welds in here, and got that flange bent over. So so there it is. Still didn't do anything with the tail light except cut more of the black car off. I got pretty much all the whole tail light is disconnected there. So eventually that'll happen. I'm going to throw the rear valance up real quick just to make sure that that still fits. Not that I could really do anything about it now, but I want to see what it looks like, and I'll head back in a second. All right, so the valance is on. Doesn't suck, I guess. So seems okay there. The gaps and everything are still because of the cancer on the valance and the little pieces of metal and everything pushing everything away. I'm more concerned with the seams on the side, which seem to be pretty tight, especially since I had to coax her in there pretty good. And then along the bottom here, you can see that it's not too bad with, at least I hope you can see, it's not too bad with lining up for some of the flange that's still left. And the flanges on the side seem to line up pretty well. Also, this one's a little off maybe. That can probably come out a little bit, but it goes on there, so got that going for me. That's going to be not a whole lot of fun to fit that and get that welded back in. There's a lot of beads and everything on that, and still some repairs to do, obviously, but happy. So with the exception of that seam, and figuring out how I'm going to try to bang that seam out a little bit or flatten that out so I can grind the weld bead down without taking too much actual metal instead of just bead metal. I haven't come through that yet, but not too bad of a day. So again, have a Merry Christmas and the rest of your holiday season. Hopefully you get some time off and get to spend it with friends and family. Don't know what the schedule is for me getting over here, but when I get over here, I'll post a video as always. Thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing, and have yourself a good night, and cheers.